Live from Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I am Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. Nigeria marks International Human Rights Day as court strikes out treason charge against 11 bad governance protesters. Federal government arraigns former Aviation Minister Stella Oduah over alleged corruption. United Nations Human Rights Office laments major funding cuts as rights abuses escalates across the world.
In business, regulators unveil gas trading license and clearinghouse authorization to reshape Africa's energy markets.
And in sports news tonight, Niger Delta Games Organizing Committee lowers age limit for competition to 20 and vows to make 2026 edition better.
Welcome. Tonight begins now. We begin tonight with the commemoration of the International Human Rights Day, for which members of the End Bad Governance movement in Lagos took to the streets in a peaceful march. The protesters demanded an end to alleged human rights abuses and called for the unconditional release of their members detained during a similar demonstration in 2024. News Center's lead correspondent, Bernard Ekede, reports.
With placards raised high and voices united in solidarity songs, members of the End Bad Governance movement marched under the watchful eyes of police officers, pushing for justice, accountability, and an improvement in the state of the nation.
What we find is that despite 25 to 26 years of civil rule in Nigeria, it's as if we are back to military rule when it comes to the enjoyment of those rights. Fundamental human rights concerning freedom of assembly and expression are constantly under attack in this country.
The march covered approximately 6 kilometers to the State House of Assembly, where the protesters expected to deliver their demands. However, access to the complex was initially denied.
As soon as we got to the gate, a female police officer immediately told us that we cannot enter. In fact, the female police officer actually more or less countermanded the area commander. And then the next drama was when the members of the House of Assembly staff, especially from the Sergeant at Arms office, came out and started behaving as if they had not seen our correspondence, which we actually submitted since last week on December 4, to inform the Speaker that a protest would terminate here today.
Among the demonstrators were residents who claimed their homes had recently been demolished in parts of Lagos, joining the protest in hopes that their grievances would also be heard.
In a situation that we captured very well, was one where, as they were demolishing it, a woman that was above 80 years, she collapsed. In another place, someone above 70 years also, collapsed. And when they asked that why are they demolishing all of these houses, the carpenters and even the OBC, they were claiming that it was on the directive of the Oba of Lagos.
The next thing anymore, yes, somebody wọ́n ti dé ilé ọ̀dọ̀ yín náà, ilé ọ̀dọ̀ wa báwo, kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Lábàdẹ̀ rí gbogbo wọn, àwọn míì bomú, àwọn míì fi aṣọ bojú. Wọ́n bá ní pé ọjọ́ra ti ta ilé wa, wọ́n ní ọjọ́ra ta ilé wa báwo, àwa la nílé.
Our forefathers and our fathers bought those houses legally from them. So suddenly of recent, they just became wide and started going to people's house to demolish houses, claiming that they own it. If it's the court order that they've gotten, let them bring it legally and invite us to the courts. Let's see the proof that they truly own the house.
After some heated negotiation at the gate, a staff member received the protesters' letter, followed shortly by 3 honorable members of the House who assured that the message would be delivered to the Speaker. But just as the rally appeared to be winding down, the crowd received uplifting news, confirmation from Abuja that the 11 detained members from 2024 protest had their case kicked out of court.
The 11 protesters who have been standing trial since August last year, because they participated in the end bad governance protest, they have now been discharged by the court. The case was actually struck out for lack of diligent prosecution.
With the announcement that the 11 detained protesters have been discharged and acquitted, the protesters here say this one battle has been won, but the war lingers on. They said they will not stop fighting for freedom of Nigerians and for human rights of those who have been abused until the government of Nigeria hearkens to their call. In Lagos for News Central, Bernard Akede.
In a related development, the Federal High Court in Abuja struck out the treasonable felony charge against 11 and bad governance protesters after over a year on trial, discharging all of them. Justice Emeka Uite ruled that the prosecution failed to pursue the case diligently, citing repeated delays and procedural lapses. Defense lawyer Marshal Abubakar called it a win for justice and urged the federal government to compensate the protesters for their prolonged trial and detentions.
We insisted that the right thing must be done, that justice must be served in this matter, and today the matter has finally come to an end. The court has struck out the charge and discharged all the 11 defendants in the matter. The defendants can now go and face their lives because many of them were arrested from outside jurisdiction, some from Kano, some from Kaduna, some from Jos, and they have endured pain for just, carrying out a patriotic duty of protest, joining peaceful protests.
The government has violated the rights of these 11 patriotic Nigerians, and we're asking that the government must, as a matter of urgency, call these 11 comrades and offer them appropriate remedial compensation, followed by a widely circulated apology from the office of the DPP, and that the government must, as a matter of fact, compensate them for this wrong done to patriotic Nigerian citizens. Otherwise, we shall consult and take the next appropriate action against these governments.
Joining me now to look at how Nigerians are marking this event and the height of the violations they've had to endure, I have Fred Nzako, legal practitioner, joining me now for some thoughts. Let's start with your assessment of human rights violations and freedoms in Nigeria, say in the past year.
Well, it is very obvious, very visible that Nigerians have endured terrible human rights violation in so many ways, in so many respects, that are not expected in a democratic dispensation. It's as if we have not come out from the military hangover, where government is very intolerant of dissenting opinions and opposing views against the actions of government. Just imagine the report that you just gave about people who are demanding for good governance and they were arraigned and charged for treason. So you can just imagine that type of treatment to people, to citizens, when ordinary fundamental right of the citizen will be misconstrued by the government and the citizens will be charged for high-level criminality of treason. And they have endured not only prosecution that have not been diligent, but they have been kept in illegal custody for over 1 year. So it is a signpost to the fact that government does not allow the people to express themselves. And when you talk about fundamental rights of the citizen, you are talking about major freedom that comes with being a citizen and operating in a democracy. Freedom of movement, freedom of lawful assembly, freedom of expression, and so many other freedoms, including freedom to demand good governance. Because the citizen, as provided by Nigerian Constitution from section 35 to 45, you have a right to life, right to decent living, right to good health, right to existence as a citizen, and several and right to even lawfully assemble and right to interact with others, and also right to profile your own faith according to the provisions of the law. All these rights are being violated, in some cases by the government, in other cases by non-state actors.
I'm curious as to your thinking as to the level of awareness we have. The Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Professor Tony Njoku, said something, and I want you to speak to that. He said the perception of rise in human rights violation might have been actuated by more rights awareness and reporting by victims to relevant agencies, as well as the use of social media, which he said could not have been possible during the military era. Do you agree with him that the reason there is so much awareness about rights violation is because people are more vocal in reporting?
Well, that is a major factor. I agree with him. I'm trying to name Professor Tony Njoku, not Njoku.
Ojukwu, yes, apologies.
Yes, I'm very certain that, yes, Nigeria cannot be living in isolation in a world that has become a global village where communication has improved standard of living, and technology has improved the interpersonal communication among citizens and between citizens and the government. What has happened is that the government is still living in the military ages where there is military intolerance. Because of the command structure of the military, the superior finds it difficult to listen to the junior or to the inferior ones, and any opinion that is not in consonance with the expectations of the superior will be viewed as insubordination. It is that hangover that is still worrying Nigerian government of today. And when I mean government of today, I mean the democratic governance that we have been in for the past 25 or 26 years. And that is an aberration, because if we profess democracy, we must practice democracy. And democracy is anchored on freedom and the rights to express such freedom, and nothing more than that. And anything that tries to undermine such freedom obviously undermines democratic tendency. Yes, social media is helping to disseminate information. Internet connectivity and the rest of them, technology is assisting, but then the government must realize that we are no longer in the dark ages or in the stone ages. The world has become global, and the world, when we talk about international best practices, we must respect that and know that humanity is the same. What is good for an American is good for a Nigerian.
Let's look at the challenges currently, significant human rights challenges. What are the most that you can identify in Nigeria today, coming from where we were with the NSAS protest in 2020?
Majorly, the major significant challenge we have is that of intolerance. As a matter of fact, human rights violation is on two major fronts. The one from the state actors, that are non-government agencies, law enforcement agencies, and then the one from non-state actors, which is the one that has bedeviled Nigerian security situation, when there is massive insecurity and the right to live is snuffed out of the citizens because of the failure of government to protect the people. Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution is very apt on the basic essence of government, and that is the protection of life and property of the people. And any government that fails to do that has failed in respecting the fundamental rights of the citizens, because the citizen has surrendered his or her personal natural sovereignty to government, and the government has that responsibility to protect the citizens. A failure to protect the citizen is a breach of the fundamental rights of the citizens, because government will now stand askance while the citizens are being decimated by criminal marauders that are not state actors. That is the major challenge we have today. And when people now criticize government, they are leveraged reasonable felons and be thrown to the dungeon. That must stop if we must continue on the paradigm of democracy.
Fred, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Many thanks.
Coming up tonight, President Tinubu warns against deployment of police escorts for VIPs without his approval. When we come back, we have details. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria marks International Human Rights Day as court strikes out treason charge against 11 bad governance protesters. Federal government arraigns former Aviation Minister Stella Oduah over alleged corruption. And United Nations Human Rights Office laments major funding cuts as rights abuses escalate across the world. President Tinubu has restated his directive that police officers assigned as escorts to VIPs must be withdrawn and returned to core policing duties nationwide. He made the remarks as he entered the council chambers for the Federal Executive Council meeting, warning ministers and senior officials that any request for special security must receive his personal clearance. He said the move aims to free up police personnel so they can focus on tackling pressing issues like kidnapping and terrorism.
And I called on the IG, and I hope the Minister for Police Affairs is here. So if you have any problem of security because of the nature of your assignment, please contact the IGP and get my clearance. The Minister for Interior should liaise with IGP and the civil defense structure to replace those police officers who are on special.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has resumed importation of petrol 1 year after announcing it has stopped importing the product. NNPC's former Group Chief Executive Officer, Mele Kyari, on November the 12th, 2024, said the National Oil Company has stopped importing petroleum products. However, in its State of the Midstream and Downstream fact sheet for November 2025, published on Wednesday, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority said NNPC imported petrol last month. The body said the importation of petrol by NNPC contributed to a significant increase in total petrol supply in November, as it jumped from 46 million litres in October to 71.5 million litres per day last month. Professor Izelem Agbon is an energy expert, and he joins me now for this conversation. Thank you very much for being here. Let's unpack this quickly. Is it general knowledge that they stopped importation, or there is a better explanation for what we're currently seeing? Was the initial halt in export petroleum products total or partial?
There actually was no termination of the importation of petrol into Nigeria. What occurred was that the amount that was imported was reduced because of the production of Dangote refinery. So the CEO comment in November of 2024 that importation of petrol or PMS into Nigeria was not correct. What happened was that Dangote just took up a percentage of the domestic market. And to this day, it is now producing it started producing about 40 to 50% of the amount of petrol that was consumed in Nigeria since October 2024. And so they have continued importation. So the importation of petrol in Nigeria was reduced, and there is a struggle between Dangote and the importers, PMS importers, to control the market. This is why Dangote called them an oil cabal.
So explain for a layman the part of the report that I read earlier, that this from the state of the midstream and downstream fact sheet for November 2025, published today, that there was a resumption in the purchase of petroleum products. You've explained that there was not a real stoppage in the importation of petroleum products, but this says different. So is there an explanation perhaps?
I think it was a misreporting. What the Nigerian midstream and downstream petroleum regulatory authority said, what the authority said was that in November, they imported 71.5 million liters of PMS a day. The reason why they said out of these 71.5 million liters, 52.1 million liters was imported and 19.5 million liters was produced by domestic refinery like Dangote. They explained that the 52.5 million liters was extraordinarily high because there was a low importation in August and September and October of this year, and they are trying to make up for it. Secondly, there is a 17 days reserve, and they want to increase that reserve to 31 days. And thirdly, that there is Christmas coming, an end of year festivity, and they want to make sure that they have a big stock of petrol rather than so that they can handle any emergency. Then finally, they said there were 12 importing ships, vessels, they were supposed to discharge in October, but they discharged in November. So the November figure was extraordinarily high because of these four reasons. Actually, telling anybody that you are importing 71.5 million liters a day in Nigeria is highly unusual because our domestic, our consumption, national consumption, is actually 46 million liters a day.
Right.
And more often than not, they normally overestimate. For instance, the NDPROA says that our national consumption is 52.9 million liters. That's about 6 million liters a day more than we actually consume.
Should we be worried then?
Because they estimate these things.
Should we be worried then? Because this fact sheet is being reproduced in the press by journalists who might not know it's a body that is saying they are providing a fact sheet. Should we disbelieve them? And that's one part of the question. The other part would be, what is the overall implication of the continued importation of products, especially if, again, we are to believe them, that this importation contributed significantly to the number of the supply that we had for November across the country?
Well, first and foremost, maybe I can give some figures here according to them. In August 2025, they imported we supplied 46.2 million, and they imported about 26 million liters. They are claiming that in September, they imported about 22 million liters, and in October, they imported about 29 million liters. Now, the best way to deal with this thing, we should stop importation of PMS. Dangote produces about 45 million liters a day today and supplies about 23.5 million liters into the Nigerian market. The rest Dangote exports. Most of the time they get confused because they confuse the capacity of Dangote, 100 capacity to produce 53.5 million liters with the actual production. For instance, now Dangote cannot meet the total demands that we have in the country because even right now, one of its units is shut down. It's one of the units that produces petrol for Dangote is shut down, like the ROFCC unit, the residual fluid catalytic conversion unit. So they need to import. The way to stop importation is to actually go and put our 4 refineries into production. We cannot have a situation where we have our 4 refineries for 22 years and we are putting money in there and the money is being misspent. Repairing a refinery is not rocket science. So we can have a situation where when we have our 4 refineries producing, then all our domestic supply will be produced in Nigeria and our consumption will be produced in Nigeria. Dangote will take a part of the market and the NNPCL will take, the refinery will take another part of the market with other private producers that are coming on stream. The importation of petrol should be stopped as one of the major policies of the federal government. But I don't think they are making that a priority because the importation of petrol benefit a very powerful cabal in Nigeria. That cabal was responsible for sabotaging our 4 refineries.
All right, Prof.
But they are fighting Dangote left and right.
There is so much to unpack with this subject matter, and I'm a bit worried that this fact sheet is circulating. That means probably we also in the media are dropping the ball. But thank you for clarifying things.
Yes, thank you very much. I think that the press should go and look at the data given by the NMDPROA in August, September, October, and November. And it will be very clear what they are trying to explain. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, sir. Tonight returns shortly. Stay with us. President Bola Tinubu has reiterated the directive towards a major review of Nigeria's security deployment structure, ordering closer coordination among the police, civil defense, the NSA and the DSS. This is to strengthen the nation's response to kidnapping, terrorism and other threats. The president instructed the NSA to take seriously the arming and deployment of forest guards and further charged the vice president to work with the National Economic Council to identify and rehabilitate grazing reserves into ranches and livestock settlements.
So if you have any problem of security because of the nature of your assignment, please contact the IGP and get my clearance. I think the Vice President should get the neck, first of all, to see which village or grazing reserves that can be salvaged or rehabilitated into ranches, livestock settlement.
President Bola Tinubu has ordered the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies to carry out a nationwide security diagnostic and submit actionable recommendations to guide reforms of Nigeria's security architecture. Tinubu issued the directive on Wednesday at a presidential parley with participants of Senior Executive Course 47 at the State House, Abuja, where he also asked ministries, departments and agencies to study and prepare to implement NIPSS's new report on the blue economy. Vice President Kashim Shettima represented the president. According to a statement signed by the VP's Senior Special Assistant on Media and Communication, Stanley Mkwocha, the president framed the security task alongside a fresh economic blueprint targeting Nigeria's marine and aquatic wealth. And one of our lead stories tonight, our former Minister of Aviation, Senator Stella Oduah, was on Wednesday arraigned before the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory in Maitama, Abuja, by the federal government over allegations bordering on corruption in the tune of 5 billion naira. In a court sitting attended by our correspondent, she was arraigned by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, on 5 counts bordering on conspiracy and obtaining money by false pretenses. In one of the counts, Stella Oduah was accused of obtaining by fraudulent pretenses a sum of 2.4 billion naira through broad waters resources from the Federal Ministry of Aviation. A bit of politics now. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has kicked off a 10-day project commissioning and flag-off across the state, starting with the dualized and extended Ahoda-Omoku Road. While commending the people for their support at the commissioning, Governor Fubara urged them to extend the same gesture to President Tinubu's administration. He also took the time to clear the air on the political situation in the state. News Center's Biola Festus tells us more.
On your mandate, we shall stand. Still fresh from the news of his exit from the PDP, Governor Siminalayi Fubara took time during the project commissioning exercise to outline the new direction for his political allies.
Let it be very clear to everyone that the Renew Hope agenda is here with a vigor than you can imagine. We're out, we're ready to drive it to every door in every local government area of Rivers State.
Fubara also dismissed insinuations that he had refused to mend fences with the State Assembly. He emphasized the need to set aside their differences in order to deliver good governance.
I personally do not have any disagreement or any anger anywhere with my members of the National Assembly, even that of the state here. Mr. Speaker, leadership of the House and other members, I have made every effort to meet with you. I'm just waiting for that meeting to be fixed. The understanding that we have is that they are going to arrange a meeting. So whoever is saying that I refuse to meet you, or there is an arrangement that was presented to me and I said I'm not going to do it, it is not true.
Speaking on the projects being commissioned, the governor said it is in fulfillment of his campaign promise to the people.
This project was a campaign promise to the people of Ahoda when we came here to seek for their support, when we came here to commission the first phase of the project. We did make a promise that if you support us, you vote for us, you vote for Mr. President too, because it was not just myself, that we will extend the road to Omok. And we're here today to tell you that that promise made has been fulfilled.
9 more projects have been outlined for commissioning and others for flag-off in the coming days.
We dey support Tinubu, we know they follow corner.
In Rivers, for News Central, Biola Festus.
Stakeholders in the education sector have converged on Abuja for the 2025 Nigeria Education Forum to discuss solutions to the challenges confronting Nigeria's education sector and outline necessary reforms. The gathering, convened by the Nigeria Governors Forum through its Committee of State Commissioners of Education, is leading the discussion under the theme Pathways to Sustainable Education Financing, developing a synergy between town and gown in Nigeria. Aishat Sadiu reports.
Nigeria's education system, according to stakeholders, still face varying challenges, from deteriorating infrastructure to inadequate teacher training and welfare, menace of out-of-school children to insecurity, among others. Speakers at this forum emphasized that these challenges are deeply tied to one issue: insufficient and poorly structured education financing.
In the Senate, we are working to strengthen funding, improve accountability, expand access to digital learning, and align our educational system with the needs of our modern economy. But we know that government alone cannot do it. Education is a national project, and national projects succeed when everyone, federal, state, local, public, private, pulls in the same direction.
The 10th National Assembly supports a curriculum revolution, one that prioritizes digital literacy, vocational skills, and critical thinking. We want to see an education system that produces job creators, not just job seekers.
One of our earliest discoveries is that you cannot finance education effectively without solid data. When we came on board, student records were fragmented. Our institutional data was also inconsistent, and the national data did not speak to themselves. So everybody was working in silos.
Participants also advocated for a stronger partnership between universities and communities, what they call a synergy between town and gown, to ensure that research outputs inform government decisions and that innovations from academia directly meet societal needs. Another key highlight was the push for states to adopt long-term financing frameworks, reduce leakages in the sector, and prioritize digital learning infrastructure.
If you do not restore confidence in the education system, we lack the moral courage to ask others to trust us. We lack the moral courage to ask private sector investors to trust the quality of research that come out from our institutions. So we can't pretend about this.
The common denominator are the teachers. They can be in primary school, secondary school for 25 years. So those are the people that we should train more, invest more in.
The forum concluded with a call for government at the federal, state and local government levels to increase political will, enhance accountability with accurate data, and ensure that every investment made in education translates to measurable improvement in teaching and learning as Nigeria pushes towards meeting global education targets. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Saliu.
A heated argument broke out on Wednesday in the House of Representatives over the failure of Central Bank Governor Olayemi Cardoso to appear before lawmakers. The confrontation followed a debate on his repeated absence from a hearing of the Public Accounts Committee, prompting the Speaker to threaten sanctions against unruly members on the floor. The House has now given the CBN Governor a 5-day ultimatum to appear before its relevant committees to explain discrepancies linked to more than 5 trillion naira in operating surplus and about 7 trillion naira in government revenue.
Concerned that cumulatively, the committee has uncovered that the Central Bank of Nigeria is indebted to the federal government of Nigeria to the tune of over 11 trillion naira, arising from the foregoing infractions and discrepancies. Disturbed that despite several formal communications and invitations extended to the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria by the Public Accounts Committee to appear, provide explanations, and remit the outstanding amount into designated government account, the Central Bank of Nigeria has failed, refused, or neglected to honor the invitations.
The invitation of a committee, one committee that was mentioned in the Constitution of this Federal Republic of Nigeria, disregarded that, disrespected that committee, and the institution that appointed that committee. Mr. Speaker, that behavior is unacceptable to this Parliament. It's unacceptable to Nigeria, and I believe and I hope, Mr. President, and the managers of this economy are watching, because the revelation in this motion are damning.
Let there be a resolution on the floor of this House forcing and compelling the agency to appear before the Committee on Public Accounts, whether they like it or not. Yes.
Okay. Honorable Speaker.
Away from Nigeria, the United Nations top human rights official says his office is struggling to operate after major funding cuts from donor governments, even as rights abuses escalate across the globe. Volker Turk, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, said on Wednesday that the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights has $90 million less than it needs this year. He said the shortfall has already forced the loss of 300 jobs and reduced the organization's ability to monitor violations around the world. Donor governments, including Britain, the Netherlands, and Sweden, have pulled back on UN contributions and aid as they prioritize defense and domestic spending. Tonight returns with business, sports, and entertainment. Stay with us.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
In business, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has launched a gas trading license and clearinghouse authorization to modernize Africa's gas market. Now, the framework formalizes participation, ensures compliance, and provides a central platform for clearing and settling trades, boosting transparency and investor confidence. Africa's gas sector has long faced opaque pricing and inefficiencies, limiting growth, and Nigeria, the continent's largest gas producer, now sets a benchmark for regional integration, cross-border trade, and market efficiency. Experts say the move could attract investments, foster competition, and advance a more sustainable energy future. We also tell you that Kenya is moving to break up Safaricom into 3 units, a telecom operator, a tower business, and fintech firm, while finalizing a $2.4 billion deal giving Vodacom majority control. Vodacom will acquire 20% of Safaricom, including 15% from the government and 5% from Vodafone, for a 55% stake and an advanced dividend of 40.2 billion Kenyan shillings. That's about $311 million to Kenya. The split aims to strengthen oversight of M-Pesa and allow independent operation of other units. Safaricom's first half 2025 net income rose 52.1% to 42.8 billion Kenyan shillings. Completion is expected in early 2026, pending approvals. We'll be back with stock market reports after this. And about the equities markets, the All-Share Index closed at 146,861.98 points, down 0.05%, while market capitalization settled at about 93.62 trillion naira. And market activity weakened noticeably, with 747.07 million shares traded in 19,125 deals at a value of 12.41 billion naira, representing a 21% drop in volume and 45% decline in turnover. Now we look at the sectoral performance, starting with the banking sector that actually dipped 0.11%, with a mild selling in tier 1 names like Federal Bank of Nigeria Holdings. We see insurance also fall 0.39% as counters such as ICO saw reduced demand. Oil and gas slipped 0.08%, reflecting light declines in Orlando, and consumer goods also dropped 0.15%, with slight weakness in Nigerian breweries, while industrial goods was also flat, well, 0.00%, as the major cement stocks, including Dangote Cement, traded largely unchanged. That's it on business. I am Lekon Onabanjo.
This segment is brought to you by MoneyPoint.
Games must register 270 athletes, while the maximum age of competing athletes must not exceed 20 years. These were the words of the co-chairman of the main organizing committee, Sir Itihaku Ikpokpo. The competition will hold in February 2026 and will be hosted in Benin City, capital of Edo State. Speaking at a press conference held today in Lagos, Sir Ikpokpo assured that the next edition of the Games will witness a remarkable improvement from the previous editions held in Uyo. The world-famous Dirty December season in Lagos is already in full swing. Last year broke records for attendance and revenue, and this year it promises to be even better, with sports being infused into the program. Table tennis, chess, football and boxing tournaments are all lined up for this month, but martial arts are also featuring as part of the entertainment. Last night in Victoria Island, the War Ready Jiu-Jitsu tournament took place in an atmosphere of music and entertainment. 11 male and female bouts took place, with some of them going the distance, while 3 bouts ended by submission. Gabon captain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will lead his nation at the 2025 AFCON after Thierry Moyuma named a competitive 28-man squad. Drawn into a tough Group F with Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire and Mozambique, the Panthers open on 24th of December in Agadir against the indomitable Lions. Aubameyang joins key players like Dennis Bouanga, Bruno Eswelemanga, Mario Lemina and Jacques Sekomi. The squad also features surprise inclusions like Malik Evunas, who had his first call-up since 2019 following his resurgence with Manga Sport, and young winger Royce Openda, preferred ahead of Giannis Mbemba. And that's all on Sports News tonight. I am Okweoluwa Adibari. Entertainment is next with Adewo.
And now let's go straight one to buzzing entertainment. A Nigerian singer-songwriter CK has made history as the first Nigerian artist to surpass 1 billion streams on Spotify with a solo song. His hits, that is 2019 hit Love Wantiti, became a global sensation years after its release, dominating TikTok trends, inspiring countless remixes, and charting across Europe, the Americas, Asia, and the Middle East. This milestone places CK among an elite group of global stars, highlighting the worldwide rise of Afrobeats and Nigeria's growing influence in music. Love Wantiti solidifies CK's status as one of the most streamed African artists ever and marks a major moment in his international career. Well, big ups to that young man because he's making Nigeria proud. Well, that's all we have on entertainment tonight, by the way.
And that's our offering tonight. As always, we appreciate your feedback and your eyewitness report. Please share them using the number on the screen. Follow us on social media to watch and follow trends at News Central TV. You can watch live as well on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind attention. Have a good night rest.